Again, everyone, and welcome to the You and I Today show, a show that aims to bring out the best of what humanity has to offer. And if you've been following us on our show, you know that season one has been focusing on the impact of COVID 19. And we've talked in length about how the pandemic has had a significant impact on immunocompromised children, on individuals with poor mental health, and even with those who are suffering from eczema. Now, wrapping up season one, we will be talking about the impact of COVID 19 on industries. Now, in particular, two industries, the F&B and aviation industry. And to that end, we have with us two very distinguished individuals, Renyi Chin, who is the co founder of My Burger Lab in Malaysia, and Ian Lim, who's been a captain for over 10 years with multiple airlines and most recently, a budding entrepreneur himself. Now, we won't steal the thunder away from these two dashing gentlemen, and we'll let them unfold their incredible stories themselves. So, over to you, my dear co founder Ryan. Why don't we begin by asking them the all important
Well,
first question?
first thing that you were doing, and then what have you ended up doing
Okay,
now?
I've always been running my burger lab for the last 8 years.
Mm.
I think what threw us off course a little bit is that the plans that we had prior to COVID was this year was supposed to be a year where we planned for franchising and
Right,
licensing options to
right.
people outside of our circle. For the
Mm.
longest time, we've always believed that we wanted to keep the brand to ourselves to maintain a certain degree of control in the level of service and quality of food that we serve.
Mm.
But we said, okay, we've done enough. The foundation is there. We are ready to franchise out without the fear of the dilution when other people
Right,
come in. So of course, when March 18 came, and we knew that the plans that we had for this year was going to be delayed, but we just didn't know how severe it would be because there
right.
was just so much uncertainty.
Mm.
Of course, when COVID hit and what we call MCO, the Movement Control Order, is in place, we found ourselves to be in a position where while we were able to serve because we were deemed as essential service, we were able to serve people although there was no dine-in. However, the business model shifted in terms of profitability. Just
Right,
a quick one, most restaurants make their money from customers coming in and dining in the restaurant.
mm.
When it's delivery or takeaway, there is an extra cost that we have to um, take into consideration. So when
Sure.
the business model shifted to almost 99% delivery,
Mm.
where we incur obviously packaging costs and delivery costs, um, the business model no longer made sense. We were losing money the first month itself.
Right, right.
So we had to make a lot of changes in terms of the business structure and the organizational structure to ensure that the business was able to survive despite the shift in um, from dine-in
Market
to
conditions.
delivery.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, market conditions. And of course, over the last few months, we also had to develop new products, new services
Mm.
um, that were in tangent or in line with what we're doing to offer to customers based on the needs and the wants. For example, there was a time when everyone was cooking at home, so a
Right,
home burger kit was something that made sense.
right.
And those are one of the few things that we did. So that's how we have changed our
Mm.
business model over the last few
Earnings,
months.
but also it's interesting because I presume also another change that's probably happened is the fact that when people dine in, I'm presuming just thinking of myself as a diner, right? You you never really have a pre-plan as to exactly what you're going to order. So I may go in with a burger, I might end up having five drinks, four drinks, and extra fries, getting kind of tempted by emotion, and the bleed kind of happens, right? I go in for a meal and I've ordered probably twice as much as I probably wanted to at that point. Whereas I suppose in a takeaway delivery kind of fashion, it's more constrained because someone's once they made a decision at that point in time, they can't really go half an hour later. Oh, actually, I want another set of rice. You can't. You wouldn't order it again. So I presume some kind of revenues could affected in that because of that dynamic as well.
Oh, yes and no. For some restaurants, that is a true
Mm.
observation and assumption. But for Burger Lab, we have a system where you queue to order on the spot at the cashier, and then you sit down and you wait for your food. So we don't usually have secondary sales
I
coming in
see. I
after
see. All
customer
right.
come in.
Okay. As opposed to
So
like
in this
table service. Then.
case,
Mm.
yes, in this case, where people have the luxury of scrolling on their phone, deciding what they want to order, we realized that the ticket size became bigger.
Interesting. Very interesting. the opposite effect. Cool. And why yet? And now the same question to Ian.
Hi.
Hi.
And thanks, Calvin and Ryan, for hosting the program for today.
You're welcome. Yeah.
And by profession, I'm a commercial airline pilot. Last position held was a captain. I've been in the aviation industry for about 13 years, and initially with Malaysia Airlines for approximately 10 years before I moved over to Malindo as they did their major expansion program. And earlier this year, I did my last flight on the 17th of March to Perth.
Wow. Right.
Yeah. That's when, before they announced MCO on the 18th of March. And for us, we never had expected is coming to this extreme situation. I was only thinking maybe this thing will last for about 3 months. But as the time goes by, and we could see how badly it's affecting the tourism industry worldwide. By the third month, probably in May, we could see that everything is going downwards, like really rock bottom. And experts have came out with their prediction. This situation will last for the next, it will recover probably in 2 to 3 years from now. So my situation turned worsened around month of June, July, as we got some hint that VSS was coming, and followed by retrenchment.
Right.
After the VSS program was carried out, we requested the company to remain us in the system by giving us a long-term unpaid leave.
Okay.
And if I did not take up the unpaid leave, I would probably be retrenched by now.
Right.
That's for sure. Right. And since then, I had some sleepless nights, loss of appetite, because I've never faced this situation before, where your pipeline is chopped almost immediately. In fact, since month of March. Yeah. So I had to do something, right, to sustain. My plan was to reduce my personal expenditure to the minimum as possible. Try to come up with something to generate a side income for us to survive.
Sure.
Because if I do my calculation accurately, my concern is not the current situation, but it's more of what's going to happen 12 months down the road, when it's draining my savings monthly. Yeah. So I venture into Meat for Brothers, supplying New Zealand steaks, beef, and lamb. Is purely online based, direct to customers. We translate the saving direct to customer by not going through a middle person. So my buddies who set up the company, we get our sources from New Zealand straight and do our own processing in our HQ, which is based in Kampung Subang, repackage into vacuum packing, and we do it online, sell it to customers.
So Renyi, coming back to you, like what, if you can share, like, what kind of, what happened in your life, or what was the inspiration behind, why go into F&B? I think on one hand, it is a wonderful business to go into because people always have to eat. At the same time, from the little I know from my layman world, it is an incredibly difficult industry to go into. It is so tricky and to remain current and relevant, and people's tastes change, right? So it's not an easy thing to choose to go into, let alone succeed at, both of which you've done. So kind of what was your kind of inspiration? Like, how did you land into F&B, and then specifically kind of things to do with burgers? And like, what was that journey like?
All right, I'm gonna try to keep this short because this can be a little bit lengthy.
Sure.
So for my story is pretty simple. I like serving people, and it was something that I discovered when I worked part-time in Starbucks while studying. So my degree is actually in mechanical engineering, although I never practiced.
Okay.
While I was pursuing my degree, I worked in different cafes and restaurants, but as much as I didn't want to admit it, because being brought up in an Asian family, you bring shame to the family if you're not a lawyer, a scientist, or an engineer. But while I was working in that environment, I absolutely loved the idea of serving other people. And it made me happy that I was able to instantaneously bring joy to someone by putting a latte with a in front of them that tastes great, that looks great. And it was only much later, when Burger Lab became a little bit more established and people were interviewing me, that I was able to connect the dots on why I fell in love with F&B. So ever since I was a child, I am one of those kids that very eager to please. I like making other people happy. And thinking back, back in the days when you are in not junior high, but primary school, you have to write what we call karangan, essays, right? And what do you want to be when you grow up? And this is what I always ask people. Can you guess what is it that I really wanted to write, but I was not able to? And the answer is actually to be a clown. I wanted to be a clown. Because to me, as a child, it wasn't to be a chef or to be a restaurant owner. It was to be a clown, because as a child, the correlation was very simple. A clown makes people happy. I like making people happy, hence I want to be a clown. But it was much later that I realized that I was able to derive joy from making other people happy by serving beverage and food. And that's where I made at one point I made a commitment to say, look, if I'm gonna be my own boss, if I'm gonna do my own thing, I think F&B is the calling. And it took everything I had to go against the wishes of my ancestors to venture into F&B. And that's how I ventured into F&B. Now, as for why it's burgers was just the easiest thing that I could cook without having a culinary degree. And it's just as straightforward as that.
Super. That's a very nice story, Renyi. And definitely something that I can connect with quite a bit. It's one of the reasons we do this show, right? In a different way. Calvin and I, we've known each other about 25 years, and one of the things that have always connected us and resulted in the show is we really want to push a lot of good out there and help people, right? It's I think there's not enough of that these days, and of course we get some joy out of it, right? But that's definitely a secondary aspect to it. And Ian, I mean, doing one of those kind of careers that I think a lot of boys aspire to do, right? Flying a plane, like I wanted to be an astronaut, and then realized it's probably not going to happen. But that's a wonderful thing. But what was your kind of what led you to kind of being a pilot or going into aviation as a whole, as a kid? Maybe like what made you do it?
As a kid, I had a high admiration of uniform bodies, like the police, military force, and so on.
Okay.
Right. That's what pulled me into joining the Royal Military College throughout my secondary education.
Right.
And thereafter, I continue further my studies into biotechnology, and got my first job into pharmaceutical industry, particularly into the sales team. Right. So after a few years of being in that industry, I had some so-called flashbacks. When same as Renyi, during the primary school, we used to have a biodata book, which we write what we want to become as a kid, and pilot was one of it. And at that point of life, I'm also hungry for challenges, and because of my affinity towards uniform bodies, and also partly because my dad was in the Air Force before, it has partially influenced my decision to pursue into aviation industry.
Right. Okay.
So got myself into cadetship program, which was lengthy, and the passing rate was really, really low. And once I got in, I completed my flight training, which took about almost 2 years, and followed by airline operation in Malaysia Airlines. So it was a really good experience all the way. And as well as my personal goal, which I never had really much privilege to travel as a kid,
right?
As well as my parents. So this being in this industry, I'm able to travel to many places, enjoy different kind of food, and meet all kind of people, as well as bringing my parents to travel all over the place, which they never had the privilege at the first place.
So I guess my question for both Renyi and Ian is, so when the pandemic first hit, right, everybody thought it was going to be a 2-week thing. What was the first thing that came to your mind when we heard about, okay, COVID-19 has officially reached our shores? What was the first thing that came to your mind?
As for myself, I'm not really worried about the situation at that point, because to me, it was, I thought it was similar to all the pandemic that's occurred before, especially in our life, that didn't end up that worse, or could have adversely affected the industry to this extent.
Right. And on my part, I think that again, I don't think anyone actually could imagine the severity of things to come, when we first heard of it in January and February. But we were definitely bracing ourselves every other day, in January and February, trying to figure out, what's to come. And the only thing that we could do was to stay tuned to the news in China of what they are doing to curb the virus from spreading, and we were keeping abreast with how the rest of the world were slowly. I mean, I think we had news of how bad Italy was in February itself, and so I was, in a way, preparing myself for the worst to come, but again, not knowing what the worst is in Malaysia. And but something that kept me to some extent calm is two simple facts. One is that, I have reached a point in my life where I've run the business for so long. We've gone through many hurdles and personal challenges, came and went, that I knew that, hey, you know what, this is just another hurdle in life, no matter how big it is. I trusted in myself to have that ability to overcome it. I think all of us here have gone through enough to know that, hey, you know what, come what may, we know that we are of a certain maturity, of a certain experience to just find ways to overcome it. So that was in me, that kind of have that trust in myself, in the team, to overcome that. The second thing was, something that me and my friends always joke about within the industry is, no matter how bad things get, people still have to eat. And we just need to find a way to serve them. Maybe not 30 ringgit burgers, but if we needed to, we could always pivot to a lower range product that might not be as luxurious as what we're serving right now, but it wouldn't be too difficult for those pivot. So with that in mind, we just said, look, we'll just brace for what's coming. And then all these years of us being a laboratory, a burger lab, where we've always constantly strive to change for better improvement. Nothing is ever the same. We are always, pushing ourselves to the limit. We just said, look, come what may, we will face it, and we trust in our own ingenuity, our ability to work around problems, to take us, to the end of the tunnel. So, and that's exactly what we did. We were light on our feet. Whatever that was in trend, or was showing certain what was there were leads of what was trending, or what was the next thing people were latching on to. We just made that jump and commit to it, and that has served us well so far.
Was there a particular do or die decision, Renyi?
I think that do or die was even before MCO came to play. We just knew that things were going to be different. We didn't even know whether we were able to open, because I think the government deemed F&B as a essential service just one day before the MCO. And the only caveat is that there's no dine-in. And immediately, the numbers started crunching in the head, thinking, will this business model survive a delivery-only model for the next 1-2 months? And that's where the challenges came. So immediately we went into marketing mode to let people know, hey, we are here, we are open, we're serving, and then hopefully, you know, you can support us. But thankfully, the groundwork that we laid out before MCO. So somewhere in February, I think we were the first few restaurants, or we were the first few businesses that started using our platform as an educational platform to say, look, COVID is serious, wash your hands, wear your mask. And we had a lot of PSA coming out. So this was before the lockdown. And also thanks to the history that we have as a community driven brand, I think the moment MCO hit, the moment we said, hey, support us, we need your help to get through this, the sales came through. In fact, we were hitting record high sales for the month of March and April. Now, while this is a good thing, as I mentioned before, the profitability is different. Because, like I said, we make money from customers coming into the store and dining in directly from us. When we use delivery, there's a delivery charge of up to 30% that we give to our delivery partners. I think that's common knowledge now. Right. Yeah. So so we were thankful. We said, look, with volume, we were able to ride this through, and the volume came. But we could only know the numbers at the end of the day, because with packaging, for example, just the paper boxes, the paper bags, the stickers to make sure that, you know, they are tamper-free boxes. So there were a lot more things going on, you know, for a delivery service that people don't see. And we didn't know whether we were profitable or not. We just said, look, you know what, it doesn't matter. Make sure the brand has eyeballs. People are talking about it. People are know about it. They're reminded of us. Let's get as much sales as possible. At the end of the day, with that volume of sales, we can say, where is our break even? Because
I got to know from a few of my colleagues from the airline as well, because the guys who set up this business are all in the airline, in hope to help all other crews who wish to earn some part-time income as an agent under the company. Right?
That's amazing.
That was the sole objective of the company initially. So, and knowing that the products that they brought in are very focused, premium cuts of New Zealand meats, grass-fed especially. And this actually attracted me more because of the direction that they're going. Because their direction is towards premium quality meat at affordable price to the end customer. That's something that I wish to be part of. And knowing that throughout the MCO and CMCO, food and beverages industry are the better ones compared to my industry, which got hit directly in the tourism, industry, right? And so I think I had to do that switch, at least to gain a certain amount of side income to sustain throughout this period.
That is, again, you just said that in passing, right, Ian, but that is, again, another super inspirational thing. You mentioned one of the key goals of the company was not just to kind of provide that service to the consumer and help you out of a situation, but also to help others who are in your situation, right? And that is a wonderful thing, right? How's that gone so far in terms of how's that working out?
Yeah, it's actually pretty tough, because I had experience in sales line before, but never in the marketing, and especially in the food industry. So when I stepped into this for the first month, I had sleepless nights to learn and to apply all the knowledge and skills in terms of marketing and the usage of online platform to engage customers into purchasing our products.
Right.
So I actually spent a lot of effort on this, and now I actually understand how the guys who set up their own businesses, especially in food industry, how they market their products. It's not an easy task. But fortunately, with right advice and support from my friends, I was able to build my customer base to a consistent level now. But that is not enough, because this intrigued me, and I'm hungry for more growth. in terms of knowledge and also our sales. So right now I'm expanding my group of guys by employing more agents under me and deliver my knowledge and train them on how to penetrate online business, especially in the food industry.
Is this something that you think other people on the ground who are, negatively impacted by the pandemic can inspire to do? Like you, Ian. You from an aviation to F&B. So from somebody who is actually looking at this, watching this, tuning into this video, this show, what is your advice to them? Is it something that somebody can do, want to do, and should do?
Yeah, fortunately in my life, I've gone through few experiences of low time in my life, right? But this is probably the lowest ever in my life. And therefore, with my previous experience being at a low time, I'm fortunate to be able to detect what situation am I in now, with how critical I am, and to a point that may cause a depression. You have a sleepless nights, you lose weight, you lose appetite for the first few weeks, knowing that you can't go back to your industry and earn a decent amount of income to continue with a normal, normal way of living your everyday life. So I was saying, right, I've done it, and with proper guideline on how to do sales and online marketing, yes, it is doable for literally everyone. It's just the effort on us. My wife's manager told me before, you can learn skills, but if you don't have the right attitude, you can't really go further. So in other words, with the right attitude, you can actually learn the skills to do what I do.
Mm-hmm. What if, have you thought about perhaps what if this is the new normal, that there is no going back, that this is how things are going to be? Because, I'll give an example, probably the tail end of the show, but, many times when a prolonged disruption in our life happens like this, people find that, hang on, this is a better way to live my life. I do want to eat at home more. I do want to cook more, for example, right? And, A, how are you thinking about it? Do you see this being perhaps the new normal, like a better phrase? And B, if so, how are you kind of looking at your kind of careers and vocations? A, Renyi, for you in terms of how you serve people and make them happy, and Ian, in terms of you and not potentially going back to flying and doing what you do. So Renyi, if we can start with you.
I think one thing that is important, and I think Ian did mention, it's the mindset that you have. So your mindset kind of frames everything that is around you, whether it makes you a good learner, someone who's keen to improve himself, to learn new skills, or someone, your mindset is also something that will make you someone that accepts things for who they are. I find that in the early months of MCO, a lot of what people were going through, including myself, was denial. That, hey, you know what, this is not gonna last. It's gonna be over in that. Depends on something 2 months, something 3 months, something's 1 year, right? But right now we know, things won't go back to normal at least until 2022, at the very least. Let's I like to be a worst case scenario guy. I'm what I call a optimistic pessimist. I believe things will go wrong. So that being said, right? Of course, I am in a better position, thankfully, because, like I said, people will always want to eat. But of course, do people always want to eat or can always afford a 30 ringgit burger set? And the beauty of being in the F&B industry or the beauty of cooking is that you can take gorgeous, beautiful products, whether it's a steak, whether it is potatoes and whatnot, and you present it in the best form possible. But you don't necessarily always need the best of ingredients. right? The best rendang is not always Wagyu beef. You can use, if you're a good skill, if you're a good chef, you can use Indian beef or buffalo meat, and you can still make a good rendang out of it. So the versatility is there, and at the end of the day, it's that mindset of saying that, you know what, it's not about going back to the new normal. It's just accepting life as it is, right? This snapshot in time that we're going through is part of life. We cannot deny the fact that this is only temporary. How things used to be, will be back soon. I think because for us to move forward, we need to accept reality as it is right now for us to move forward. And whatever comes, whether it is a new normal, whether it's a old new normal or new old normal, right? Come what may. Look, there's so many countries that I want to go to that I've never been to, and now I'm regretting. I go like, you know what, I should have traveled before this and whatnot. Because for the last few years, I've been hunkered down in the business, and I really forgo a lot of luxuries that I could have. And this was the year where I'm supposed to go traveling and go see the world. I've paid my dues, right? But again, regretting makes no difference. But at the same time, at one point there was a thought in my head, hey, what if I would never get to see Japan? And I've never been to Japan, and that thought at one point did scare me. What if I'm never gonna be able to experience certain things? But that's okay. That's okay, because I'm quite sure there are new, different experiences that we can yearn for. Because humans, what we do is we are survivors. I mean, we're born to fight. I mean, I think not just humans, but all animals, all living beings, we fight to see another day. And the only difference is that we human as a creature, we yearn for creature comforts, right? But that are designed by man, right? The idea of owning owning an iPhone, the idea of being able to travel, the idea of it's all man-made. So I think the contentment really comes from you being able to say, hey, look, in this snapshot in life that I am going through right now, I'm going to find the best way for myself to be happy, to be contented. And I think only then we can live life to some sense of normality. Because as long as you are seeking normality, you're saying this is not normal, I yearn for normality, you will never be truly happy. And the thing is, so I'm going into some psychobabble here now. The thing that I believe in is that life is about impermanence. Nothing is promised, nothing is um, um, forever. And you just got to take your chances with what you have right now and to make the best of it. And if you go down to that mindset, I think life just becomes that little bit easier.
What if, at least for the foreseeable future, right? Who knows, that going back to flying is fairly distant, and A, how do you feel about that, and B, A, have you found maybe perhaps a new thing, right? Or B, kind of how are you planning for that in terms of all the things that are going on in your life?
All right. My passion is definitely still on flying, and I'm very, very positive that aviation will make a comeback. It's just a matter of time. And the comeback is not like 0, 100. No, it's going to be a slow growth.
Yeah.
That's why when they say the airline recovery will be fully in 2 or 3 years, it means you're getting back the business that you have done up to 2019, probably, right? So, and now being in this situation, I've told myself that I cannot be comfortable just by doing what I'm doing. So therefore, I'm looking forward to see my business to grow. And from the knowledge and skills that I gain, I wish to see how it would lead me to in the F&B industry. And in future, I wish to be involved simultaneously while flying and also doing this on the side and trying to explore more into the F&B industry, because like I say, the opportunities almost limitless. It's just limited by yourself. And I also wish to expand my current businesses by helping those crew or airline industry employees who have lost their job recently or going to lose their job in the near future. So I'll be glad to recruit them and train them up.
Okay. So, Renyi, I just like, it's very inspirational story so far. I know the Burger Lab story and the journey. So for all your comrades within the F&B industry out there who are like, this is really inspirational. I want to pivot. I want to know how to have that mindset. But I don't know where to start. What is that one advice you can give your brothers in arms within the F&B industry?
So the credit can't go to me for figuring this out. I'm sure. Are you familiar with my partner Wicket?
Yeah, heard of him.
Yeah. So Wicket was definitely ahead of his time. You know, when he is still with us in the company. So he's still a partner. It's just that he opted out to be a sleeping partner as he wants to pursue other things. And but one of the few things that he taught me from the early years of the business was to keep a mentor around. And that's something that I kept with me for a very long time. But one layer that I added on was to, apart from have a mentor for myself, apart from having mentors for myself, I also kept mentees around, so people that I could coach. So this is something that I adopt in life for the last couple of years, which is to always have someone smarter than me, that is able to watch out for my own growth, that is committed to my growth, be there when I need them, because they've been there, done that. So whenever I do something stupid, they're able to slap me in the face and say, look, don't do that. So that helps a lot. You have no idea. But I'm thankful that because Burger Lab brand itself is quite strong, that when I go up to someone like Benjamin Yong or Chong Lin of Nando's, and I say, hey, you, I would like to get to know you. I'd like you to be my mentor. That they go, oh yeah, I've heard of your brand before, and after a few coffee sessions, they're able to accept me in as unofficial mentee, but I call them my mentors. So that helps. But the other part of the equation is to help someone that is, lesser experienced than what I have gone through. And the goal is, of course, to bring them up to my level as much as possible. So in that process of being able to accept advices and practice them, and at the same time be able to dish out advices and put myself in someone else's position who might be not as fortunate as I am, that personal growth, that acceleration is light speed, and that has worked really well for me.
If people are looking at your story, such a radical shift from industries, but yet at the same time so inspirational. If they want to do the things that you do, what is that one advice you would give them to get them off their feet and to be inspired to follow your footsteps?
Yeah, if you're in the similar situation as mine, if you need any help in terms of advice, you can always WhatsApp me or over the coffee. I'll be glad to share my experience from zero in the food and F&B industry to what I've learned for the last 5 months, and still learning, continue to grow. And I believe anyone is able to follow my footsteps, because with like I said earlier, with the right attitude, don't worry about skills. You'll be able to learn the skills in a shortest time possible. And this is not something that requires high capital to start off. But you won't know once you have started this how far you could actually grow. Maybe you could grow as big as how Renyi under Burger Lab is doing in his industry. Aside from that, still not giving up on flying. Very, very looking forward to it. I even miss the smell of the cockpit at this moment, right? And also all the aircraft food that's being served by our beloved cabin crews to us every time we fly, and also being closer to the sun, as if you're closer to the sun, right?
Yeah.
And looking forward to explore different places again in near future.
Definitely some kind of parting things I'd like to say really is, and this is not just to you guys, but also to everyone watching, right? I think the two of you guys are a representation of, you know, a whole bunch of people and a way of thinking that I think a year like this year, although it's been horrible for many people, you know, not overlooking the fact that people have lost loved ones through all of this, but through all of it, right, it is sprouted people like the both of you, right, who have had a fixed way in life, had a dream in life, and then all of a sudden just had it ripped away from you, right, in different degrees. And I think it's very inspirational to see the, you know, both of you are saying the kind of same, looking at the same problem in two different aspects, right? But the commonality I am seeing is, I think the both of you are saying one very simple thing: keep the faith. Even if you don't understand how you're going to come out of this, believe that you are, right? That's the first thing, right? This, you may not have all the answers, but the first thing is this attitude, like trust that this is going to work out and that you have everything at your disposal to make it happen, right? Not in isolation with your mentors, your mentees, your friends, your family, all of those things, but you have all of it, right? And it's again this applying that attitude. Number two, I think perhaps, you know, what I'm hearing is it is scary as hell, right? Like, you know, Renyi, you've invested so much of your life. You already said, like, I'm, you know, I'm Malaysian, that I get this whole thing of not, you know, having a degree or not having this thing, and that the stigma that comes with, right? And the fact that you had to go through all of that, and then this year potentially we're looking at all of that going to waste, right? That all those risks you took, and now there's this thing. And Ian, you know, your love of flying, and you started from looking at your dad and all of these things, and all of a sudden someone said, no, you can't have it, right? You can't have it. I'm not going to give it to you, right? And the fact that you've found a way now to find something else. But I think the powerful thing is that, you know, Ian, I like very much what you're saying, and I was hoping you're going to say that, which is you're finding something else that you also love doing, that is also paying the bills, but you're not losing sight of your dream, right? Because that is the thing you still want to do, right? And who knows how that's going to transpire if, for example, no one ever flies again, which I hope isn't the case, because I'm dying to do that again. I love airline food, honestly, honest to God. But also, like, who knows if the
You
way
guys must
that's
have been flying first class.
no, I've always liked middle class, man. Well, mainly because I've
No,
been
Joe,
middle class.
the dream is to fly again in economy class. I'm sitting next to you. Ian is flying the plane, and Renyi is serving us my burger lab on board. Okay, that's the dream.
I think, and then Calvin was also saying was this, or who knows that this might have knocked you in a particular angle that you might realize that really the real passion you had was teaching people to fly. Or, you know, who knows, right, where this is going to take you, which is combining your two loves of, you know, doing something that's really close to your heart, but also flying. And, you know, I just want to kind of wrap up my conversation here, which is, you know, things like this. I think what I'm saying to everyone out there is, you know, kind of there is no end to the road. Like, there's always an option. These two guys are a clear example of that. Reach out for help if you don't. There's loads of resources. You know, we didn't manage to talk in this 1 hour about, you know, things that potential private or government bodies can give you in terms of loans and opportunities and mentorship and think all these things. But you know, there are lots of avenues. But I think the first thing is mindset. Believe that there is kind of light at the end of the tunnel, and it isn't an oncoming train. And the I just want to finish with one little story, which I think everyone should kind of look at. There's a thing I've always believed in, which is like happy accidents. So the two stories, I'm going to go on the short one, which is in England, there is a way you travel on the tube, on the train. There's an Oyster card. It's like a pass, right? It's a little magnetic card. You touch it and you travel. And the government and even public, anyone can access this information to know that this card went from this location to that location at this particular time. They don't know who owns the card, but this card ID went from stop 1 to stop 3 at 8 in the morning and then reversed that journey 8 hours later. So there's this group of folks that did this research probably 7-8 years ago now, and they worked out that for 3 months, a huge amount of people made this journey from a certain point, a certain location to a certain location between the hours of 7 and 9 in the morning, and reversed their journey at about 5 or 6 in the evening. Effectively, people going to work and coming home, right? That was the journey they were doing. They didn't know who they were. Then what happened was the Transport for London, the network had a strike. It was the biggest strike they've ever had. And they were replacement bus services, alternative routes. And what these data scientists did was and the strike was only for 4 days. They then looked at the research and said, well, these guys that for the better part of 9 months leading up to the strike did this route from point A to point B and back again. What did they do in this 3-day period? And they realized, obviously, they had to go through alternative routes, right? They had to find a different way. What they then found was a good 70 to 80% of those people never went back to the original route after the strike concluded. They kept the route they used when the strike had happened. So effectively, what the story they were trying to tell was that we all kind of creatures of habit. We have a certain way of thinking and feeling, and we do certain things. Then all of a sudden, something comes and knocks us sideways and kind of throws us off our game. And the human, and like you said, Ian, like all animals, all living things, kind of built to survive. They found an alternative route, and what happened was they realized this was a better option. That even when the problem went away, that was the better way to live. And had that accident not happened, they would have never seen it and never heard it. And it's for me, it's a good reminder. And there are many stories like this, right? Look up there's a jazz pianist called Keith Jarrett. Just go and Google his name, and you'll see another crazy story about it. But it's, I think, just a very good lesson that there's a lot of opportunity and adversity, and if you apply yourself correctly, it's not always going to be easy, may not always be successful, but I think don't close your doors before you've tried something. If you had a magic wand and you could change something, which when the exclusions are world peace, COVID disappears, and you wish you had more wishes, right?
Yeah.
It's a tough one. It's designed to be a tricky. It is a tricky question, right? So it's quite lighthearted though. It's not a
right. After going through the process of MCO and CMCO throughout this pandemic, I've realized something. We can't be comfortable doing just one thing in life. And if I have a magic wand, I wish to enrich my brain with further, or rather wide knowledge of investment to diversify the investment. Throughout your life, you've been working and saving, but you need to have a kind of growth. And my personal goal is to have stable financial growth. So to diversify investment, be it into more properties, share markets and businesses, small or even larger businesses, so that when one collapses, at least you have some backings in life. And by doing so as well, I'm also able to keep learning and keep my brain active until the old age. Yeah.
I think we've always had this conundrum, right, of saying, hey, what if we are reborn again to a younger self with the knowledge that we have today? How would we do things different? Buy all the Apple stocks, buy all the Tesla stocks, buy Bitcoin. It's really wishful thinking, but I think I'm gonna go back to my original answer. I will make a wish, simply because I think that me being here today is an accumulation of every experiences that I've had so far, and I wish to not change anything, because otherwise, if I make that wish, I would feel a sense of regret. And me being myself, I promise myself to never look back and regret, because everything that has ever happened has happened for a reason, to be to shape me into the person that I am today.
I just hearing you guys both speak, like I've known Ian, you've been an acquaintance, right? We've never really been friends. It's the most I've known you, and Renyi, the first time I'm meeting you. Both of you, you are exactly what the show is about. It's exactly what we're trying to do. It is inspire, it's to motivate, it's to give people a kind of hope, right? And hope is not a tangible thing. And every time the both of you opened your mouth, that's all that was coming out of it, right? It was just kind of just hope and try and keep moving, right? And thank you for being on the show, but also more important, thank you for doing all the things you're doing. Like, when you said you're mentoring people, you've invited on a show that hopefully is going to go and get millions and millions of views. You've offered your WhatsApp number, right? But this is two very selfless things to kind of help other people, and you've set up the company to do exactly that. And I think if every single human being does a little bit of that, we're going to have a much happier place, right? So thanks, guys. Have a really awesome evening, and all the best, guys.
Thank you very much.